Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we'll take a look at an operation called lofting. This can be a bit confusing as Blender refers to this operation as beveling a curve. However, most other 3D packages refer to it as lofting a curve. Lofting a Bezier curve, or beveling in Blender, in its simplest definition, is using one shape to create volume along another shape. In Blender, we can accomplish this in two ways. We can use a closed shape to bevel an open shape, and that's what we refer to as lofting, or vice versa. We can use an open shape to bevel a closed shape. We'll look at that in the next video and refer to that as lathing. But for now, let's work on that first method. Now, in our scene, I've deleted the default cube and I've switched to top view, numpad 7. We'll start by creating a shape from an open curve. I'll hit Shift A and choose the Bezier curve we've used before, and I'm just going to scale it up a bit. We could manipulate it into an entirely different shape, but for what I want to do, this one will work just fine. Now, let's name this curve Bevel Path. It'll be important to keep our various curves named for selection later. I'm going to deselect the curve and place my cursor slightly below it. Using Shift A, I'm going to create a Bezier circle. Now, I want to create an object that looks kind of like a horn. So I'll scale my circle down to about the median, or average thickness, that I want the horn to be relative to my open curve line. Now, this won't be entirely accurate, and we can adjust it later, so don't worry too much about the size. I'm going to go ahead and name my circle Bevel Shape. Now let's select our bevel path and go to our Data Properties tab. We can see the same properties that we've used in previous videos. Down in our Geometry pull-down, there's two boxes labeled Taper Object and Bevel Object. We're going to use the latter and click on it to open up our selectable options. For now, our only choice is Bevel Shape, so we'll go ahead and select that. As we see, our shape is now extruded along our path. Right now, we have a very nice tube. We could select our circle and adjust the size of our curve larger or smaller depending on our modeling needs. It's a really great way to get anything from a pipe to a cable or an extension cord or something like that. But for this video, we want a horn. So now that we've created our geometry, we're going to have to taper it. Well, that's pretty easy too. Once again, I'll deselect my horn and I'll move my cursor down and I'll hit Shift A, this time selecting the Bezier curve. I'll rename this second curve to Bevel Taper. We can select our horn geometry, and under our Taper object choice, we can select our Bevel Taper. As we see, this gives us a pretty neat object, but it's not exactly the horn that we're looking for. That's okay. Now we can make some adjustments. I'll select the taper curve and tab into Edit Mode. By selecting the control handles, I can alter the shape of my curve. The really nice thing is I can also watch my geometry update in real time so that I can get the shape I'm after. Now remember, this is the fall off of the taper, not the shape of the horn. Our first curve or path determined the shape along our x-axis. The circle we created determined the shape to be extruded along that path, and then our last curve is determining the fall off of the taper. When we put them all together, we have our horn. Now, it's important to note that we can edit any of the curves to change the result. By manipulating the various curves, we could easily create a two-wire cord, like for a plug-in, or filigree for a fence. We could create complex pieces for a logo, any number of things that's suited to using curves. Let's do a quick demonstration. If I go ahead and select our circle and tab into edit mode, I can shape it by altering our control handles. In this case, I'm going to shape it into a heart shape. I'll go ahead and select my top and bottom control points, and I'll convert those to vector points. Remember, that's our hotkey V. I can then manipulate those to create a bit of a heart shape. And as we can see when we pull back, our horn is still a horn, but now it's made from a heart-shaped extrusion. We can also grab the control point on the horn, and we could, using our hotkey E, we could extrude it to have more geometry and more control points to work with, as I'm working on doing here. Alright, hopefully you're beginning to see the many possibilities that the bevel curve operation has to it. Now in the next video, we'll look at that second method of beveling a curve, often referred to as lathing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you there.